Once upon a time, there were three. Once upon a time, there were three little girls who went to Congress.
Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice, for being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that?
Welcome to another episode of RBN Live Fridays. Just got caught off guard. I didn't expect that video to end so soon. But welcome anyway to a special Friday edition of RBN Live, which is also straight out of politics. And I'm coming to you today last minute because maybe some of you already saw this story, but I just saw this story about AOC. And here is the graphic. We're going to get right into the subject. So here is the graphic. Let's take this down here. Put up the graphic here. So blame the staff. And this beautiful graphic made by our editor extraordinaire, Aaron, depicts the actual dress by which AOC throws her employee under the bus. So it's concerning that, and it's the ethic investigation into AOC and everything surrounding the Met Gala event, right? Where turns out all of that shit, thousands of dollars worth of clothes and services for her to attend that thing, she didn't pay for it. Didn't pay for any of it. So we'll listen to the bullshit responses in this article. It's a Forbes article we'll bring up. I can actually put it in the background for a second here. So let's do that. So let's stop sharing this one and bring up the Forbes article. So we'll be getting to this in just a second. And the title is AOC searching for new campaign manager after previous one blamed for Met Gala fiasco. And this article came out. Oh, it came out today. Wait, March 16th? Yeah. No, yesterday. Sorry. It came out yesterday. And so the labor activists, AOC, throws labor under bus. So we're going to jump into that first topic in just a second, but let's get to some comments. It's already a lot of people commenting already. We'll get to some comments and some other items. Now, let me shout this out because Nick sent this to us. Okay, so here is Nick will be on Glenn Greenwald's show tonight at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, 6:30 Central. So RBN will be on the Glenn Greenwald show later tonight. Make sure you check that out. Last time he was on there, they did send him his clip, so we uploaded it on our platform also. So if they do the same, we will do the same. All right, so let's now get into some comments now that I got all of that out of the way. Ashura, first comment, well. So I take it you haven't heard or read this article, I'm assuming, by that comment. Yes, it was her staff. That is why they are wearing masks and she wasn't. So it would be hard for her to identify them. There's another one. Hope AOC is enjoying her 30-piece of silver. Greetings from a white boomer in the UK. Here is one here from Bryce. I remember seeing Forbes YouTube talking about this a few days ago. Wow, I didn't see that. So now I'm going to search for that video and see if I can also play the video for that. Ironic that she wore white, the color of innocence, when she'd already been corrupted. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy Patty's Day. All right, so her inner circle called her Alex. I thought it was Sandy. I thought she used to be called Sandy. Greetings, family. Ireland will soon be free of colonial oppression once and for all. And capitalism is violence on the working class and specifically the poor. AOC will never say that because she's a reformist. Right here. Thank you. Whoop whoop fam, whoop RBN fam, whoop whoop. Time for show. Don't forget to give that like button some love, and she's absolutely right. Hit that like button. We got 175 people watching. Can we get 150 likes? That'll leave about 25 people to be the skeptical new ones that don't know yet. But 150 of us should be hitting that like button to get us to that threshold. And then our Substack for notifications when we go live tomorrow. Oh, another thing, tomorrow is the anti-war peace in Ukraine rally. That's another one that RBN will be reporting from. Let me see if I have the graphic to show you. So don't forget, this is tomorrow. And here is the graphic for tomorrow's. Our RBN covers anti-war rally, peace in the Ukraine. So make sure you tune in. It'll be roughly around 3 or 4 Eastern, something like that. So we'll see when that is. So another graphic made by Aaron. So again, so anyway, let's shout that out. Here's our fundraiser. RBN Labor and Bills fundraiser, fundraising and play our employees what they want to be paid. So Venmo, Revolutionary Blackout, toss us $1 or $2, and Cash App, Mutual Aid Forever toss us $1 or $2 so we can make sure our employees are paid adequately. And let's continue with some of your comments. More happy St. Patty's Day. Man, when I was younger, I used to party on St. Patrick's Day. One day I gotta give my semi-life story of some of the stuff. I've had lots of different jobs, from university to strip club DJ to just all types of things, to warehouse, to McDonald's, movie theater. Did I say college, university? Yeah, that intro by Turncoat Don is great. Great intro. Tax the rich dress got us so much. Exactly. Sell out, selling out, doing what they do. AOC is right. It was her staff. Remember, it was her staff members' fault. That is why the staff wore masks, and she didn't. She won't know who to blame. Happy St. Patty's Day. Thank you for the super chat. Yes. I wonder where you're. Oh, I said it before. A subsidiary of Spearmint Rhino. So you know, Spearmint Rhino, they have their name, and then they own a bunch of other clubs underneath them. So yes, it was a subsidiary of Spearmint Rhino. All right, so I think I got to a lot of good comments. Hopefully we've reached 175 likes. I'm sorry, 150 likes, because that is the target. So make sure we do that. I put up the Substack. What am I missing here? Website is something I got to always mention. Here's our website, revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com for those listening. We're at 117 likes. We only need a few more, about 35 more. Yeah, 35 more to get us to 150. As we're approaching 200 people watching. Now, let's get into the story today. And again, you're watching Straight Out of Politics, and you can begin here, Aaron. So, like I said, got up today and was really searching for articles that I felt like I wanted to do. Again, I'm a mood guy, so I have to feel the stories. Didn't really feel anything. So until I came across this article, literally at the last minute. I think it was the last 2 articles I read, and it was this one. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty interesting, because anytime we're able to point out the contradictions in the progressive Democrat narrative, that's what we want to do. And here's another opportunity where they shout, we're for labor, we're pro-labor, while breaking strikes and throwing labor under the bus. And again, this article, maybe I should put it in. I'll put it in the description right now. Let's do that. So if you're looking to read this on your own, I will save it. And it's officially in the description box now. But let's read the article. I'll blow it up a little bit. AOC searching for new campaign manager after previous one blamed for Met Gala fiasco. This is going to be interesting. So I've read about half of it, and I always like to be surprised live in some parts, like whether it's a video or an article, so I can get my live reaction. And I've read about half. So this is written by Zach Everson, Forbes staff. It just says I'm a staff writer. And there goes the night that we're essentially talking about, the night where she attended the Met Gala, where, you know, eat the rich. She spent, I think it was reported, I think it was $30,000 on an Eat the Rich dress that she hadn't even paid for. What do you think you could have did with $30,000? Could that have helped the community? You donate $30,000 to RBN and you'll be amazed to what we can do with it. Donate half of that. Donate a third. And see if we're now out feeding people, helping people pay bills, giving haircuts to the homeless. I mean, it's a different approach. But anyway, let's continue with the article. And I'll read the caption before I get to the article. The caption of the picture reads, Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez leaves the 2021 Met Gala celebrating in America, a lexicon of fashion at the Met Gala at the Metropolis Museum of Arts on September 13, 2021 in New York. So let's read. Rep, and I'm going to just shorten it for AOC. Rep AOC is looking for a new campaign manager after her previous one was blamed for dropping the ball on payments related to her Met Gala appearance. So let's just stop there. In the first sentence, we find out, so she's basically saying, you're going to make payments, right? And her staff dropped the ball on making the payments. The staff who didn't wear the dress dropped the ball on payments for a dress that's not for her. That lapse led the House Ethics Office to find, quote, substantial reason to believe, end quote, the Congresswoman violated ethics laws by accepting impermissible gifts. In September 2021, the New York Democrat attended the Met Gala, famously wearing a white dress with "Tax the Rich" scrawled across the backside. That appearance led the nonpartisan Office of Congressional Ethics to launch an investigation. Its inquiry discovered that Ocasio-Cortez did not pay for her dress, her hairstyling, makeup, and other services until after the investigation was launched. 5 months after the gala. I wonder if the pseudo left, the NATO left, the boutique left is going to cover this story. Any guesses there? Ocasio or AOC told the investigators she planned to personally pay for those services and had authorized her campaign manager to coordinate payments with the vendors. According to a transcript of the interview, pause there. So AOC didn't have $30,000 in the bank. So AOC couldn't pay for the dress outright. So she puts herself in a financial situation where she has to make payments so she can go to a gala so she can say, eat the rich. Anybody buying this story here? Who's buying this? Anyone? Please identify yourselves in the comments, if at all you're buying this story so far. Now I'm going to ask the question again later on when we get through some more of the article. And let's get back to that article. So I'm going to read this again. AOC told investigators she planned to personally pay for those services and had authorized her campaign manager to coordinate payments with the vendor, according to transcripts or a transcript of her interview. Let me see if I can make this larger. Oh, I was hoping that it spreads out this way, but it doesn't look like it's doing that. But anyway, let's do this then. Slightly change how we look so that more of the article can be seen. Let's do that. I got this from Nick. He does this. He does this framing a lot when reading articles. But let's continue. Oh, sorry, everybody. When I blew it up, it scrolled me back up there. So let's go back down to where I left off. It gets really melodramatic. She's the victim here. So again, I'm going to read it again. AOC told investigators she planned to personally pay for those services and had authorized her campaign manager to coordinate payments with vendors, according to a transcript of her interview. Quote, I continue to follow up on this thing because it was stressing me out. So she continued to follow up, but somehow it still wasn't paid until the investigation was launched. Who's buying this? Anybody buying this? And I genuinely did not know what had happened. Let's see. You know you didn't pay it. You know you owe the money. You know what happened. Ocasio-Cortez said, quote, I had continued to get this kind of holding pattern response from her campaign manager. Here we go, in blaming the subordinate, blaming the employee, blaming the worker. The labor person, blaming the worker. You're asking the worker, what's going on with the payments, man? The money that I owe to somebody, what's up with that? And for 5 months, you as an employer are taking what now you are saying is an unacceptable response from your campaign manager, yet you accepted it for 5 months. I'm sorry, I said that. Quote, I just never, ever, ever would have allowed that to happen, knowing what I have learned. But that I wasn't privy to the invoice. Let me read that again. I kind of botched it. Quote, I just never, ever, ever would have allowed that to happen, knowing what I have learned. You know, the reason why it feels like I messed up is because she's starting to enter her word salad zone. Because that grammatically is missing something there. I just never, ever, ever would have allowed that to happen, knowing what I have learned. But that I wasn't privy to the invoice, the congresswoman said. The campaign manager, who was still employed by AOC at the time of her interview in May 2022, pause. So everything is going along fine with you. You have no problems with your campaign manager responding with this, what you say, holding pattern. You had no problem with that for 5 months until the investigation happened. And you had to blame somebody. The campaign manager, who was still employed by Ocasio-Cortez at the time of the interview in May 2022, provided investigators with a similar account. So the worker, okay, throw me under the bus so we can give cover to you. The campaign manager said she didn't pay for the dress. Listen to this bullshit right here. The campaign manager said she didn't pay for the dress as she didn't think the invoice was final. So, somebody's lying here. Because the campaign manager receives the invoice but thinks it's not final. Why isn't she conveying the subtotal? Like, I don't think it's final. Okay, this is the subtotal to AOC. Because she said she had no idea about the invoice. Why aren't you conveying that to her? If this story really happened. Why aren't you conveying that you have an invoice with a subtotal? Just made up lies. She didn't pay for the hairstylist until after it threatened to file a complaint with the New York City Office of Labor Policy and Standards for Workers because the bill fell off my radar and she didn't have access to the congressman's personal credit card. I mean, this is just nonsense. All of this right here. Completely unbelievable. You're sitting on an invoice for one thing. You know the amount for the hairdresser because it's been so long that they submitted to a government agency for non-payment. But none of this you're conveying to AOC is what they want us to believe here. Let's continue. Yes, so she didn't have access to the congressman's credit card. Why don't you call her and say, what's your credit card so I can make the payment? Because she so eagerly wanted to make the payment, remember? Is there a person that would read this and believe this story that they're giving? Overall, the campaign manager said other things kind of took precedence, like breaking strikes. Like voting for Hakeem Jeffries. Other things took precedence over paying your bills. The campaign manager's name is not included in the transcripts, but other exhibits included in the investigation report identify her as Rebecca Rodriguez. So she throws a woman of color under the bus, if that's the person's maiden name. Throws a woman of color under the bus. Quote, the staffer is no longer with the campaign, said communications director Lauren Hitt in a statement, declining to explain if the ethics investigation led to the split, Forbes was unable to reach Rodriguez for comment. Of course not. Because she was told not to respond to nobody in this agreement where she agreed to be thrown under the bus to save AOC. Does that sum it up for people? That sums it up pretty much, right? AOC began looking for a new campaign manager on February 7th, according to the first date Google indexed the posting. Let me get my dates right here. So she made the posting in February to get a new campaign manager. May 22 was the interview she did. So let me see. Is it February of this year or last year? Responsibilities for the position, which pays $120,000 to $165,000 a year, include partnering with the candidate to design and oversee the campaign strategy, set and execute priorities, and manage a skilled team of staff, advisors, consultants, and volunteers in a community-focused, unconventional, year-round campaign operation. Overseeing compliance is another responsibility. The ad does not mention that the duty may include ensuring AOC's hairstylist receives prompt payment. And here is the filing. Does it hang on a second, everybody. I'm looking for a date. Still don't see a date on it. But I would assume it's February of this year is when this posting was put up. She was interviewed in May. When was the Met Gala again? It's September of 01. Yeah, it seems pretty chronological. September of 01, Met Gala, she finds out she's getting an investigation. January-ish, fires, concocts a story, fires that employee, tells her to go underground, don't respond to anybody. May, she gets interviewed for this story and had all these months to concoct this story. All right, so just terrible how AOC is doing that. But again, just another instance, another another check in just multiple stories of how AOC and this whole progressive Democrat narrative have been selling out the working class. One, to even try to sell this as something that you're doing for the working class. Remember when she went, eat the rich is on the dress, so that means something. This is what we're doing, I guess. But yeah, that I think we'll leave it there. Actually, you said that there was a Forbes may have had video on this. So let me see. Let me just quickly go to YouTube and see if Forbes have a video on this. While I'm pulling up the video, let's make sure we hit that like button. We got up to 285 people watching. So let's go to 275 likes. Hit that like button to get to 275. All right, so now let's look and see where. Oh, Forbes. Guess it would be news. Forbes News, AOC. Yeah, let's just do that. See what comes. Okay, so let's filter this and go in order of upload date. And see. Okay, here we go. This looks like this was 13 days ago. Let's listen. And what it says, just in, the damning details of AOC's likely ethics violation per House Ethics Office. So this is most likely the video that Bryce referred to earlier. Let's watch a little bit of it, hopefully.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Forbes staff writer, Zach Everson.
Oh,
Zach,
it's
thank
the
you for
actual
coming on
writer,
today.
yes.
Glad to be back, Brittany.
Zach, you're here to provide more updates on a story you've been following for a couple of months now, and that's the House Office of Congressional Ethics said that Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez likely violated ethics laws with her Met Gala appearance. We initially talked about the news as it broke, but what additional details can you provide?
Sure. So as you dig into the report that the Office of Congressional Ethics published, there are some pretty juicy / damning details in there. As we mentioned, they dinged her for the dress, hairstyling, makeup that she received when she went to the Met Gala in 2021, that famous tax the rich dress, and that she didn't pay for them until after the office launched its investigation about 5 months later. And now she claims that the intent was always to pay for it, and just the system broke down and she didn't get it done. But as we look into some of those details, the first one is regarding the dress that itself, where she was originally billed $1,300 for that dress as a rental. And this is from, Brother Veli's. It's a well-known brand. It's highly regarded. The designer Aurora James has been featured in Vogue. It's high quality work. She was charged $1,300 for it. Then a staffer spoke to somebody at the fashion design at Brother Veli's about the invoice. And the next day, a second invoice was sent, and the price was slashed to just $300. And the staffer did not remember what may have transpired to cause that. And Aurora James and other people at Brother Veli's did not comply with Office of Congressional Ethics request for information, to the point that the office has actually recommended that the House Ethics Panel, which has the investigation now, subpoena those people. So,
wow. So AOC has gotten those people at the Met Gala dress, where she got it, to participate in this cover-up of throwing up her employee under the bus. Because they're not responding. And the other thing that the article did not mention, that he mentions here, oh, I see Nick in the background. Whenever you're ready. What he mentions here, it initially was a rental for $1,300. The staffer calls them and gets it bumped down to $300, but somehow the staffer can't recall what was the reason why they did it. Like, this reeks, I should say, of a ethics violation cover-up, because now we have two people or two entities who aren't responding or is refusing to participate in the investigation, or at least the reporting of it. So let's continue to listen to what he says.
There's a $1,000 haircut on that dress, and I think getting a dress for $300, getting that dress for a $300 rental seems well below market. Not my area of expertise, but I do our family's finances, and I see what Rent the Runway can cost every once in a while. And I think an Aurora James dress for $300 for a night is a pretty good deal.
I agree. I use a similar product, and that dress would not happen at a $300 rental fee. But can they get in trouble for not complying at all with this investigation? I know they are getting subpoenaed.
The House Ethics Panel, I don't know how much jurisdiction it has over fashion designers. It certainly has jurisdictions over members of the House, and even then, it doesn't seem to want to flex its muscle all that often. So there's a good chance we'll never find out what happens here, if they even do subpoena them, because it is pretty much a black box over there.
And let's talk about the hair.
Well, this is the problem when you have corrupt people running ethics investigations. What's up, Nick? This is the problem when you have that, is that, they'll be reticent on pulling the trigger on something like this, because why are we going to do that? So that when they gain power, they're going to do that to us. So it's kind of like a washing of the bag. I'll wash your bag, you wash my bag. I won't take it too far with your investigation. Don't take it too far on us. But what's up, Nick? What's going on?
What's poppin'? My friends, my family. I'm glad I was able to make it. I was hanging out with some family that was off today, so I had time. I saw like last 10-15 minutes of stream, so I wanted to join you. This is great coverage. Very, very embarrassing, very revealing about AOC. I was thinking about going live later tonight, but I'll be joining Glenn Greenwald on his Rumble show at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. That's why I want to jump on with you, because all right, I don't.
Yeah.
So I do my
We'll have
RBN
time later.
coverage, and then I'm gonna be on Glenn Greenwald show later. So that's gonna be hype, fam. That's gonna be hype. So let's go. Let's mix it up with.
You know
CJ.
the topic yet? Do you know what the topic is yet?
We're gonna roast Kamala Harris. So that's gonna be fun.
That's always good. That's always good.
That's always fun. He's like, "You want to eat like you down to that?" I'm like, bro, I'm like, fam, I'm always down to roast Kamala Harris. We also gonna talk about Ukraine and the state of the left, that kind of stuff as well. Glenn, just like Jimmy, is always fun. Always fun to do those shows. Always fun to do Lee Camp shows, Convo Couch. I love talking to these people who are actually serious anti-imperialists, serious about civil liberties and that kind of stuff. So should be fun. And I'm gonna watch a lot of this segment because I watched the last 15 minutes, but I didn't catch it from the beginning. So I'll let you. I'll let you do your thing real quick. I'll let you do your thing. I'll be here.
Absolutely. So just recapping, like you said, you just saw the last 15 minutes. It's recapping with the article, but there is a little more information in this video. So let's listen to a couple more minutes before we close out and go to the next segment.
And makeup situation as well from the Met Gala.
Sure. So the hairstyling is also really interesting in that 5 months after the gala, a representative from the hairstylist threatened to file a complaint with New York City's Office of Labor Policy and Standards for Workers against AOC's campaign unless they paid them the next day, because they had gone 5 months without having paid for their haircut. I mean, again, a little bit different than how you or I operate. I know when I get my haircut, I, swipe my credit card on the way out the door, say thank you, and they have their money, as opposed to waiting 5 months. By that point, I've already had my haircut 3 more times. So they were threatening to file a labor complaint against, AOC, which is not exactly the image that the labor-friendly image that the Congresswoman.
I had to come back for that one. I'm here. I can hear it. That's crazy. Wow. Oh my God.
A labor complaint. It was threatened to be filed. So I mean, I don't buy this, but I am trying to find a thread of believability in this story, and it's just there's just simply not a thread. It sounds like to me so far like she wanted to feel like a celebrity. You ever see the Real Husbands of Housewives episode where Chris Rock was on there, and Chris Rock was saying like, I'm a much bigger celebrity. I'm white famous and you're black famous. This is what he was telling Kevin Hart, right? And then he would so Chris Rock would go to stores and go to restaurants and not pay. He would just get up and walk away from the restaurant. Kevin Hart was like, hey, Chris, what the fuck you doing? We didn't pay for this. We didn't pay for that. He's like, when you big like me, that's what you do. So Kevin Hart tried to do that. It didn't work for him. But the point being is that she obviously thought, I'm with the celebrities now. We don't pay for shit. We don't pay for haircuts or anything like that. They thought these people were going to give them this stuff for free because they were, competent because they're celebrities, or at least that's what she thought. And it's coming out that people are like, no, you owe us. We're going to file a complaint with the labor board, which she could not have had happen. Just amazing.
Embarrassing.
Let's play it a little more. Let's see if we get some more tidbits. Now, I read the article. I know you missed that part, Nick. But this video has way more information in it than the article.
Presents.
Zach, like you said, usually when you get a service, you pay for it either immediately or you get on some sort of payment plan. Was this a failure on AOC's behalf to pay, or did the campaign think this was a sort of gift or borrowing situation?
No, they knew up front this was something they had to pay for, that they consulted ethics. They consulted outside ethics counsel on this, and they had said up front that they, in their response to this complaint, that they intended to pay it. It was just the system broke down. But again,
so let's clarify here. Let me clarify, because he does kind of muddle that situation. He's not saying they knew they were supposed to pay in the beginning. He's saying after they have retained an attorney after this investigation launch, this is the reason they're giving. That's what he's saying.
And I'm just shooting the shit here. I'm flowing this out here. Do you guys think this is one of the reasons why AOC don't even try to pretend to be a leftist anymore? You know how she's like full-fledged Democratic establishment shield now? And once again, I don't. This is a theory. Maybe she's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go pivot hard liberal because this story about to come out, and when this story come out, I'm gonna lose all my left credibility anyway. So I might as well do my pivot right now. Go.
That's a good point.
Once again, I'm just going out there. That's just a theory.
That's a good point because you got to think. If we think back, Nick, think back to the reaction of her just going.
Yeah.
And then now fast forward to the reaction of the story behind it. Yes, this would not have been a good situation. And this is not a good situation. But do you think the NATO left or the pseudo left or
they're not going to cover this?
Going to cover this?
They're not going to cover this. I'll be shocked. And you're our point man on this. You let us know. But I'll be shocked to see this coming out of David Doe, Mike Figueredo, TYT crowd at all. And if they do, shit, I won't be surprised they attack and throw the staffers.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that.
And the Met Gala is probably the highest profile thing AOC has done other than being elected in the first place. And you'd think like, hey, did you remember to pay that bill for that dress? That seems like something you'd ask. I have the same thing. Like, hey, did you remember to pay for the kids' diving lessons? That sort of stuff comes up. And then just, I know she's a congressperson and has a lot more going on her plate than dealing with this kind of stuff. But
like what? Breaking strikes? Like what has she done? Voting for NATO? Like what? What other busy thing is
Chuck Schumer? She's gonna go to a
take
Schumer, and then an anti-war activist is gonna call them out, and she's gonna take the side of Chuck Schumer over the anti-war activist. That is what AOC is busy doing.
She's responsible for it. And it's something that you think would stick in her memory and wouldn't have to take 5 months.
This is a payment that was missed that is in the ballpark of a couple grand, be it the dress, the hair, and the makeup. Is this a big deal in the scheme of ethics investigations?
Probably not.
What?
No. But I mean, ethics investigations almost always.
You got to think ethic investigation when you have war criminals, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so
right.
to corrupt people and corrupt Washington, you only took that, AOC, you know what I'm saying? Like Mendez, the other Democrat Mendez that got caught up in an ethical investigation, he's like, that's all you had was a measly 5,000. So
maybe about the little things. When Duncan Hunter got dinged for all of his travel, it was in tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars, I believe, for misusing campaign funds. This is not a ton of money. It's very visible because you've got both AOC and the Met Gala involved, and it's a good headline. And
so this wasn't a lot of money. Then why is AOC waiting to make payments? This is why none of this story makes any sense, Nick, because what he's saying here is that the amount was very, very low. But in the article, AOC says she's been waiting for 5 months for her campaign manager to set up payments for a $300 rental.
Yes. Yes, CJ.
Like it's not a believable story. And do you know the campaign manager can't be found? She's not returning any calls, not returning anything.
And she got fired, right?
Yes, and she got fired. So it doesn't make any sense. So let me read this quote again, and we can close this segment out. This is what AOC said. I continue to follow. I'm sorry, that's the second quote. Here's the first quote. Up here. Oh, I guess it is the first quote. I continue to follow up on this thing because it was stressing me out, and I genuinely did not know what had happened. I had continued to get this kind of holding pattern from her campaign manager. I just never, ever, ever would have allowed that to happen knowing what I have learned. But that I wasn't privy to the invoice. So we can close it here on this segment because AOC literally made this story up. I mean, it's so clear that she made this story up after the fact, and she threw her campaign manager under the bus who's not responding. So the campaign manager was willing. Maybe she set something up. Hey, here goes some cash. And also you'll set you up with a job or something like that in the future. As long as you keep quiet, don't respond to anybody. The people who rented her the dress don't want to cooperate with the investigation, so they're going to have to be subpoenaed. This smells and reeks of a cover-up of a small proportion, a small amount, but she knows, even if the small amount, what she was doing was not going to land well, especially.
I cannot emphasize enough. I cannot emphasize enough how bad this story is for AOC. And you're going to have the progressive media, the Bernie industrial complex, run defense by not covering it. You know how like there's like lies by omission? Yeah. It's going to be defense by omission, right? It's their way of manufacturing consent, painting the political picture. So there are a lot of people who follow these people who don't understand why I got all these criticism of Bernie AOC. They don't even understand it because they never not used to hearing it. And the reason why this is so bad for AOC is because think about the Met Gala embarrassment and how much shit she took for that. This is the last story AOC wants to drag on. Think about it. If you're AOC, after the public slacking she took after the Met Gala appearance, you want that story to go away. You want that to be a news cycle. Now because of this scandal, now it's another news cycle. Now people talking about the Met Gala thing again. It's horrible for AOC. But there have been a lot of things that have been horrible for AOC, her votes, literally her public appearances defending Biden's State of the Union. Like, there's so many lows for AOC. It never stops. That's why I am adversarial, and I have no patience for people who still apologize for AOC and Bernie. It's absolutely ridiculous. But that's why I asked CJ, anything else you want to? I'll pass it back to you.
No, that's all we have on this story. I'll do a couple of announcements. I do have some couple of stories, but
I have stories.
I was going to say, if you have a story to insert, because it was going to be a shorter stream because I just didn't have a lot of stories, but I can stay as long as your stories are. Yeah, so I'll do an announcement.
My story's not that long either. I think I got a few back to back, like 10 to 15 minutes. So I can do two and I'll pass to you, I think. Go ahead, CJ.
Okay. We can do whichever you want to do. All right, so let's do a couple of quick announcements here. So Substack, join our Substack if you want to get notifications. Make sure you do. And also, I will be doing coverage. I'm covering the anti-war protest. They have the rally in LA, Nick, and I was telling people I'm going to be covering that. So make sure, get on our Substack so you can get notifications of that. Also, I did mention this earlier, but we do have memberships now. So if you would like to join, it's $3.99. Here's our website. And then I think I want to get right back into the stories here. So because I know you got to probably prepare your story. So let's
go ahead. You can do this one. I got one.
I'll do this quick one. This is
it's all good.
This one here is so I covered yesterday, Nick. There was an article. And maybe you can call it a hit piece. There's a hit piece or an article out about Marianne Williamson and her treatment to her staff. Now there's it could be a hit piece, but there is stuff in there that she's admittedly said, yeah, that happened.
So my take on that, and because I didn't get a chance to really chime in on that, I have a lot of criticisms of Marianne Williamson that comes from the left, and that's why I want my focus to be on focus on left analysis. And based on how she conversed with me, based on her conversation with Misty and many of the Julian Assange supporters and activists that dealt with her before, she definitely 100% classist, and she definitely gives me the vibe that she talks to people down to people. But with that said,
Williamson wants to be that
this story does seem hit jobby. It does seem hit jobby. I think I can have those two takes at once. I do think that she's classist. You can see how she treated me in the interview. I don't think she's a friend of workers, which is why I think it's ridiculous to drive a multimillionaire professional managerial class person as the leader of the left. She should not be there. But with that said, that story does seem like kind of a hit. It does seem hit PC because you see they plant these stories about everyone they don't like. It's super easy to find a few staffers. You're like, come on, man, we can make you big. Yeah, it's easy to entice people to get these quotes from people, especially even if they have a minor grievance over the campaign. Imagine if you had a minor grievance over like Marianne Williamson in the campaign, and then you get an opportunity to be part of the story, and they're like, "Come on, man, tell us the details." I definitely see people embellishing and establishing playing that. But with that said, I definitely believe that I definitely see bad boss vibes, and Marianne Williamson, period, is not someone who should be a leader of the workers. Period. You got fucked up. You got chose the wrong one. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, and we're gonna just listen to her. She goes on Fox to respond because that's really the only people I guess that will bring her on. And the reason I would call it a hit piece, I mean, a lot of people know why it's a hit piece, but the 12 unnamed staffers, and for them to specifically say they're going anonymity because of an NDA, to me, it feels like this is a 12 staffers. That's a CIA planted story, but it could have some truth to it. Like you said, she could be a classist. She could speak to people kind of tartly, and it gives a bad vibe. But she did admit to getting so upset that she pounded on the car so much she had to go to an emergency room. She confirmed that, and there was another part of it that she confirmed. And in the article, for example, there was an email, Nick, where the person who had quit had sent an email in their resignation letter, and they said your treatment, and it was referring to how she was treating people. So that's what I said. Like, it could be a hit piece, but there was some parts in it that was not disputable. Like the email where the person who was resigning saying, "Hey, you're treating people wrong, and I can't stay here because of that." That's not something you can defend, especially when she responds, not saying that's wrong. She never said, "What are you talking about?" She responded by saying, "I'm sorry that you interpreted that," and then she said, "Nick, get this, don't tell anybody else what you just told me." That to me just felt like it's a hit piece, but this is not good either. Like this other part. So let's listen to her response. She pretty much acknowledges what we just already talked about, and anyway, but let's listen.
Startling number, you think about it. Among Democrats, only 37% think Joe Biden should run again for election. They're looking, that is, almost 2 out of 3, for somebody else, not him. Marianne Williamson wants to be that somebody else. She's back in the race to challenge Joe Biden. Back when she ran in the last contest, it was a crowded field. Only the two of them right now as things stand. We assume the president's going to run for re-election. Marianne Williamson, kind enough to join.
I'm just going to give her a compliment in the sense that when I found out she was 70, I was surprised. I did not know that she was 70 years old. She looks a lot younger than 70 years old. So that was something that was very, very surprising.
Join us now. Ms. Williamson, good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Why are you doing this?
I'm doing this because I think there are some things we need to talk about in this country and we need to change. People need health care. People need a way to get educated, to send their kids to college. People need a living wage. We need to save the environment for our grandchildren. Things that, represent, among other things, a healthy middle class, which we had in this country in the 1970s. These things need to be put on the table, and they need to represent the kind of economic U-turn that this country needs, and that I would effectuate as president.
I know Bernie Sanders is impressed with you. He says you should give it a good shot. We've heard very little from anyone else. In fact, nothing. It's almost like crickets.
Wow. Why are you doing it in front of her face? He said it's almost like crickets. And look at her face. She's trying to maintain herself, but come on, man. He's saying that right to her face. All right, let's listen.
Shot. We've heard very little from anyone else. In fact, nothing. It's almost like crickets from everyone else in your party, even the progressive wing that supposedly you would appeal to.
Don't do that.
Certainly more than the
Just
president.
real quick, CJ.
Don't do that to her. Don't do that to her.
They keep saying that Bernie Sanders said nice things to her, which is, I guess that's a generous thing to say about the story. Like, Bernie Sanders' reaction to Marianne Williamson running is like, "Oh man, that's nice. How cute." I'm not supporting her though. And then everyone's spinning that as, well, Bernie Sanders said a nice thing about her. Bernie was the only one who didn't openly diss her. That was it. I wouldn't even classify what he said as nice things. Oh, she's gonna run.
It's an acknowledgement.
It's almost like,
he acknowledged it.
To me, I read it as he was like, "Oh, that's cute. Oh, she wants some attention. Okay, whatever. But I don't support Biden." To me, there's nothing good about that article. I covered it. I read it. I don't know why people keep spinning that way. I think it was horrible. If I'm Marianne and her supporters, I would be livid at Bernie. Are you serious? Remember that video we dropped not too long ago when I said, if you disagree with us, if you disagree with RBN, and you support taking over the Democratic Party, if you're supportive of the Justice Democrat strategy, you should probably be more pissed at Bernie than we are. There's no one who more of a thorn to your side than Bernie Sanders and AOC. Not us. They more upset at RBN instead of people who are failing to implement their strategy. But let's continue, CJ.
Yeah, I think we cut that segment. It sounds very familiar, like that. There's a segment out for that. But let's listen a little more, Marianne.
You know, there's this decision made. It's we will not primary Biden, and so everybody who's thinking only about their own career, they're just standing in line and waiting because that's the decision made from on high. I believe in democracy. I believe in elections. I believe in anyone who feels moved to run for president, putting their ideas out there, submitting their resume, as it were, and their agenda to the American people, and then let the primary voters decide. That's what democracy should be. Yeah.
Do you want to debate the president?
Absolutely, I want to debate the president, and I think that he should debate
on
me.
what? On what? On what?
I agree with you on Ukraine, Biden. Keep implementing the two-state solution, Biden. Man, Biden, you should have stayed in Afghanistan.
I was just about to say that's the only thing. She could have been like, "Hey, you should have did Afghanistan different. You should keep some people there." Like that's the only for women's sake. Like, is that what she's going to say?
So
like,
Jordan asked her about Biden's corruption. She's like, "What corruption?" Then what are you going to call him out for? If you don't even accept the premise that he's corrupt. And that's what Jordan exposed. Not us. Jordan exposed the fact that he still thinks. My criticism of you during our interview was I said you're weak on Biden and the Democratic Party. Then she turns around. She don't even understand the prime criticism of Joe Biden. That he's an agent of the military-industrial complex. And he has completely destroyed the United States' influence on the global stage by isolating themselves because the United States has been unhinged neocon warmongers. But that's not the criticism. You're not even gonna hear that from Marianne. So my point is, what's the value of you running? If your campaign is dodging the crimes of the executive branch and you have nothing but a legislative branch criticisms, run in fucking Congress. Why are you not running in Congress? Criticize the Congress and the Democrats for not getting enough done for the people. If you run for president, you need to criticize what the commander-in-chief is doing. You understand? This thing where you do, I'm running against Biden, but hey, I agree with them on Ukraine. I agree with them on this. I agree with them on that. What's the fucking point? Run for Senate. Go after Joe Manchin. Go after someone else. This is a waste of time. But go ahead, CJ.
That's a great point because her point is all, she's always saying our government is bought. Are you saying the president too? Because if you're not saying the president's bought, then you should be running for Congress like she tried to do. I think it was 2014 or 15. Her presidential run in 2020 wasn't her first run at office. She had I think it was Senate or rep run out of it's a rich area. I can't even think what she said. But anyway, let's play the video. I can't remember the city.
Fact that I am another candidate.
All right.
I'm the declared one, actually.
All right. You're the only one for the time being here. Do you think others will enter? Because no one seems to be, even with that disaffection for the president among the base, to jump in.
It's a very serious decision whether or not to run for president, and I respect that. And I'm sure a lot of people are thinking very deeply about their own, they're thinking about their careers because they're part of the political machinery. I'm not. So I don't have to worry about any of those things like what will this mean for my future political career.
False.
I think there might be some other people outside that political machine who jump in. That's
false. Let me explain. And this is why I'm not falling for it no more. I fell for it with Bernie. She said, I am not part of the political machine. That is false. That is false the second you decide to run in the Democratic primary. Why is that? Because we all know Marianne Williamson supporters, the Vanguard and all these people prominent Marianne Williamson, they are aligned to you guys because they're not telling you that in order to run these primaries, you have to sign a contract. And that contract says you have to endorse the nominee. Why do you guys think Tulsi Gabbard, who was literally criticizing the shit out of Democrats, even she was forced to endorse Joe Biden because she signed a contract? Bernie Sanders forced to endorse Joe Biden because he signed the contract. And this was literally common knowledge to everyone after the last election. And now everyone is gaslighting the shit out of people and pretending that Marianne Williamson can do the dirty break, that she's not going to be loyal to the Democratic Party when that is what the contract says. Right? So when she says she's not part of the Democratic establishment, you cannot say that the second you join the primary. Because when you sign a contract and you become part of that machine that will endorse the Democratic Party, you are part of the machine. And what we want is we try to prevent people from wasting their resources in labor time propping this up. Go ahead, CJ.
Please save your money, please. So, all right, back to Fox News.
To me, that's sort of glory of democracy, that anybody should be out there who feels moved to be out there and give their case, put their piece to the American people.
You know, last time you were running, you were talking about love and, you know, the idea of decency and look after your fellow man. I'm kind of conflating it all. I apologize for that. But now there are reports in Politico that you don't practice necessarily what you preach, that there are allegations you've been very mean, condescending, actually cruel to staff members, that you have a long history of yelling and screaming at them. They're afraid of you. What do you say?
This is what they do. This is what they do. These are the hits that they make. Hit pieces come. Mockery from the press secretary to the president comes. Women on The View. These are the dirty tricks that mean.
But why? I don't understand why Nina Turner falls into this too. They come at you with so much vitriol, but you don't want to go at them. That is so like against how like I grew up. Like somebody come at you, you go back at them, and it's like it's such a schizophrenic way of having to run a campaign. That a campaign that's literally throwing everything at you, dark money at you, but you can't really call them out, and it's so bizarre to me.
You're rattling someone. Somebody's not happy that you're there. Somebody feels threatened by the conversation that you're bringing up. So this is what happens in politics, and I'm not surprised that it's
I certainly
happening to me.
understand that, but they do quote a few people. You're quite right. You know, quite a few of these were not identified. But this,
have you noticed that?
But this poor Paul Hodes, the former congressman, who had said that, yeah, this is consistent with my observation, quoting him, and consistent with behavior I have seen. What do you say?
I can talk about Paul Hodes' behavior, but I'm not going to go there.
Listen to what she says about the guy. Like, it's one of those, like, I'll give the analogy after she says it, but listen to what she says right here.
What do you say?
I could talk about Paul Hodes' behavior, but I'm not going to go there.
It's like, I'm going to talk about his behavior, but I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, just like AOC, your first instinct, like any politician, would be attack the accuser. Same shit.
Right. Now, in the article, I think it's a Political article, they do mention that this person, he's an elected congressperson, was part of the Bernie campaign, and he was let go of the Bernie campaign because somebody said they accused him of harassing him or something like that. So maybe that's what she's referring to. But also when I was reading this, I was like, yeah, there was 12 unidentified, but this was one elected member, or now he's not elected anymore, who was willing to put his name out there and saying, hey, yeah, this is pretty much how my recollection. But then again, getting to one person, the ruling class, in order to put out a hit piece is easier. So maybe that's the reason he's named and the other 12 aren't. So again, both can be true. This can be a hit piece, but it also could have pieces of truth to it. And thank you for the super sticker. All right, let's continue.
If anybody has ever felt that I was not respectful to them who worked for me, then I am sorry. But I also know that this is a hit piece. I think anytime that somebody criticizes you, you always have to ask yourself, is any of it true? Is 10% of it true? If 10% of it is true, then I want to correct that within myself and within my behavior. But that's not what's going on here. Do I have some things to learn from any experience, including that one? Absolutely. But I also think that people can see through the obvious game that's being played here by establishment forces who don't want me in the game.
Some people put it out there, including the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, who made a number of snide references about you. I just want you to respond to this.
Is the president annoyed, frustrated with Marianne Williamson for jumping in the race ahead of him? Did he want a clearer field to run against the Republican nominee in 2024?
Just not tracking that. I mean, if I had a what is it called? A little globe here, crystal ball, then I can tell you, but I imagine 8-ball, whatever. If I could feel her aura, I just don't have anything to share on that.
Let me, before she responds, I never understood why Karine Jean-Pierre's response was so offensive that all of the boutique NATO left came out and did videos about it. Like they did videos like it was like offensive, and she was just
don't get
I didn't get that.
Don't get it twisted, CJ. I think a lot of these people was extremely happy that this happened. Like when Karine Jean-Pierre did that, that was actually a gift to the Marianne Williamson campaign. So they was excited. Obviously, they got to do the theatrics, and they're like, oh my God, how dare she say this? But they're happy that they got acknowledged. That's why the video came up. They had a pep in their step when they was talking about this is the moment they've been waiting for. They wanted to go to the battle. So this is why I believe at the time this was a giant gaffe by Jean Jean-Pierre, because this gave Marianne Williamson a chance to respond. People wrote articles about it. The best strategy for them was just to ignore her, but they did not. That's why they actually, the Marianne Williamson supporters, they responded the way they did, because it's actually good news that the Biden administration acknowledged, and which is obviously good for democracy in general, but it was a gaffe from the Biden administration.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
What I thought of that is, first of all, she's not tracking that. She's not tracking that. Obviously she is. Those were not spontaneous remarks. I've written 15 books. I've given thousands of lectures. No one will see any
spontaneous. It wasn't a spontaneous. She was asked a question and she answered the question. That's sort of spontaneous. That's kind of the definition of it.
Anywhere that I have said or written anything about crystal balls or about auras. I write books about religious, spiritual themes at the heart of all the great religious teachings of the world. And I think, given
one thing I will say, just real quick, the establishment attacking her for being a religious coincidence. I keep all my criticism as left criticism. I avoided that. Because it's ridiculous that they're saying that. Meanwhile, the entire establishment, including Democrats, are ran by fucking insane evangelicals. Now, I don't want to piss people off here because I avoid religious rants for the most part. But to me, it's always hilarious when I see the three big religions, whether it be Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and whatever. And then they say, oh my God, this person over here got wacky beliefs. Shut the fuck up. Have you guys seen what Mitch McConnell and the Republican prayers that they do in Congress? They are way crazier than Marianne Williamson at her worst day. But they use that as a tag. You know how crazy you guys are? And I'm not even talking about just Republicans. You guys seen Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi? They do the same thing. Abrahamic religion. Thank you, Bill. You guys can tell the name slipped from my brain. The Abrahamic religions is what I'm talking about. These Abrahamic religion supporters, they always do this about everyone else. Oh my God, Scientology is a cult, which it is. Scientology is a cult. This person is a cult. These people are a cult. Nigga, you see your book? I ended there. I don't want to piss people off. But people say this about Marianne Williamson all the time. That's the weakest attack on Marianne Williamson, I believe. That's just me personally. But go ahead, CJ.
The majority of Americans, you might want to be careful mocking that.
I agree with you. I mean, you're very profound on a politics of love comes to mind, where you raise issues that maybe a lot of candidates, a lot of people in general, don't share during a campaign. But the idea when you ran last time is that you were caught off guard, that you were flippant, that you're making up for it now by really getting down and studying a lot of these issues. Do you regret the way things started in that last campaign?
Well, I think the issue that you bring up, the point is what you just said, when they started. I think when people actually came to hear me speak last time, I was speaking about serious issues then, but because, the debates were kind of early, I was nervous. I made a couple of, I gave ammunition to those who wanted to oppose me by sounding kind of silly with a couple of things I said. Although I also said some very serious things in those debates about all kinds of issues as well. But when people actually came to hear me, the issue was take something silly that she said, use it to create fairy dust so people won't even come hear her. But if you look at my website from last time and you look at my actual talks last time, I was talking about serious issues then. Now I think people are hearing me. That's the main difference, because to be honest with you, Neil, I'm not talking any more seriously now than I was talking then. I was just seen in certain situations early in the debate, all of that. You know, they'll take one viral moment when you go cringe, and and then that turns a lot of people. It's
So
a deflection.
you're probably going to
technique.
get a lot more scrutiny as a result, because clearly you are preparing for this very differently. But you know, you are an unabashed and unapologetic progressive. You are looking for a single-payer healthcare system, paid leave, parental leave, free childcare, tuition-free public and vocational schooling.
What she doesn't understand, he's listing all these things for his audience to know, don't fuck with this person right here. That's why he's listing it. She's I'm for all this stuff. Like, you don't understand. He's listing them for his audience to know, listen to the nonsense that she believes in. She just want to give a bunch of free shit to people, so don't follow her. She may be thinking, I'm going on Fox News to get, no, you're not. You understand? No, you're not, especially when you're going on to respond to a hit piece.
$1 trillion in reparations to Black Americans. How are you going to pay?
You see, he ended with the reparations thing. He said a bunch of shit, free, 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 and then he says, and reparations? How are you going to pay for this?
Pay for all of that.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Right now, take something like healthcare alone. University of Massachusetts at Amherst has just come up with a study that says over the next 10 years, it would actually save us $5 trillion to have Medicare for all. We now pay about roughly 18.3% of our GDP goes into healthcare. If you look at countries that actually have universal healthcare, which is every other advanced democracy, look at Germany, look at Canada, maybe 10%, maybe 15%. The question is, how do we not afford to? Look at what we are paying in healthcare now. We have an $88 billion medical debt. 1 in 4 Americans are living with medical debt. 68,000 people every year dying
you're quite
for lack
right
of
about all of
healthcare.
that, but it's the idea
So
of paying
that means,
for it up front to get going, right? I mean, do you want to tax the rich? Do you want to surcharges? How are you going to? Because that's just part of it. There's a lot more. I mean, what do you do?
Well, first of all, we spent trillions of dollars in Afghanistan and Iraq, which were obviously spectacular failures. And the first question people were asking was not how are you going to pay for it. Yes, we should have a fairer taxation, particularly for the very, very rich. We should get rid of these corporate subsidies.
What is a fair taxation? No, I'm sorry, Ms. Williams. What is a fair taxation?
Okay.
What's a fair amount for the rich to pay?
I would not have a problem with a wealth tax. I would not have a problem. If you have $50 million in the bank, I don't have a problem with you paying 2% extra in tax. I don't have a problem with that.
Michael
and if you have $1 billion in assets,
I'll try to be short here because this is actually a very long concept. Michael Prenti talks about this. This is a trap that social democrats fall into. You see how they get grilled by these questions? What do you mean tax the rich? How much should we tax them? How much should we tax them? Nigga, we wanna seize the means of production. How much should the rich pay? I don't know. How much the rich owe the workers? How much do they owe society? That's how you answer those questions from a Marxist point of view. You see social democrats like, I don't know, 30%, 40%, I don't know, Be better. Let's continue. Once again, I ain't going a long thing. Like, this whole tax the rich thing is weak. It's weak. It's a good starting point. Obviously, it's a good way to transition out of a capitalist hardcore society, right? But we need to seize the means of production. We need worker control. And taxing the rich is, once again, it's good to fund social programs, whatever, right? But that is not the end goal. And when these people grill you over these questions, you be clear. The rich pay what they owe the workers. The rich pay what they owe the community. That's the answer, period. But we can continue. I'll spare you guys.
Yeah, because this is the reason why social democracy will never liberate everybody everywhere, because even what she's saying, tax the rich, that'll help us. What are we doing for the global south? What are we doing for, you know what I'm saying? Like, taxing the rich still gives the belief or the understanding that it's their money.
Yeah, exactly, CJ.
That's taxing the rich. It's like, let's put this penalty on you to remove. It's like, no. We are taking over the company. That's what we should be doing.
Just real quick, CJ, they say you can exploit your workers as long as you pay your taxes. That's the message. But go ahead, CJ.
Right. So keep exploiting your workers, and then we'll just tax you to pay for these programs of the workers you're exploiting.
And that's better than
exploiting the
neoliberalism.
workers. Yeah, go ahead.
That's better than neoliberalism, but that is not the end goal, guys. I want you guys to understand that. Let's continue. Let's continue, CJ.
All right. Let's see.
Asset, and we ask for 1% on top of that, that's not even going to affect your day. So, you know, we had a 2017 tax cut, $2 trillion, 83 cents went to the highest earners and the richest corporations. Why is it, Neil?
But everyone got that tax cut, right? Everyone got
well,
that.
hold on.
Now, are the president
no, wait a
limits
minute, wait.
it? I'm sorry, just
now you see how they got to play these
technicalities
now. You see how when now they playing the capitalist game. You see how he got her caught. Even if you're someone who thinks Marianne Williamson is doing good here, right? You see how she's forced to play her game. And I just want to use this as an education moment. This is what social democrats are weak on capitalists on. And this is why capitalists are more than happy to have them as the opposition. You get caught up in these world salads, right? Mm-hmm. You get caught up in these waste of time nonsense or define it. No, when we are Marxists, when you're a communist, we are clear. If you are a member of the ruling class, if you own critical infrastructure, you pay your workers their fair mean to share production. Period. But sorry, let me continue. We can continue the video.
Yeah, no, we're gonna end it here. The reason, because I want to address the part where another reason why social democrats and social democracy is weak on this part of capitalism is because they're benefiting from it. So the critique that is needed, or what you need to say, social democracy and social democrats aren't going to say, because what's needed will affect them too. And you know what I mean? It's like they're the house humans. Like if you say house Negro, they're the ones that's getting the benefits of being close to the person in control. So their critiques, their answers to these things are going to be very soft, because you get what I'm saying? They're benefiting from the same system, so their critiques are going to be soft because they're not trying to really change anything materially because they're benefiting from it.
Yeah, look at this comment. I think this is a great comment. TD said it's funny how she doesn't complain about that guy interrupting her.
Yeah, I was going to mention.
But she was talking when she was talking with Nick, the exact opposite. I don't know. It seems like as long as you wear a suit. Well, what do you guys think it is? Is it the suit? Is it the hair color? Is it the salary? Oh man, this guy make a lot of salary. He's my equal. He's my class. Oh, look at this guy in his fucking cheap ass Walmart clothes, Target clothes. This dude, he better not fucking interrupt me, this goddamn peasant. Meanwhile, the Fox News dude doing the suit, perfectly okay. That's why I didn't accept it. I don't accept that shit. I'm 100% pro interrupting politicians. In fact, they should be groveling to us, not the other way around. Right? It's the beard, absolutely. Right? Yeah, let's say that. Let's get benefit down. Let's say it's just the beard. Or maybe the glasses. I mean, we're trying to be nice to her, right? So let's say it's maybe because of the beard and the glasses. Maybe because I'm that studio. You guys understand, these are the best case scenarios, right? Why do you guys think that is? Anyway, I think that was a good comment. We got two. I saw the super chat just came in. I'll read this, and I got a few stories I can get to.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you can do your stories. If you got quick stories, you can do those now.
And I'm gonna bounce around 30 minutes or so, just so I get ready for the Glenn show. Thank you for the $10, Thomas Ramirez. How are you going to pay for this? Is why I keep insisting the left learn modern monetary theory. That question is pro-austerity. MMT is not what you think. Well said, Thomas Ramirez. I remember the first year of RBN, we did like 2 panels on MMT. We
need to bring it back. We do need to bring it back.
I definitely need to bring it back. I'm more versed on the socialist Marxist theory of economics, but whenever I listen to MMT people speak, it does seem very interesting. So we need to do it again. I see another one that came in. There's solidarity super sticker from our comrade V. Thank you for the support. Now I have a breaking story. I was gonna go live today, but
it's breaking. Let's see.
Well, it's not really breaking. It came out today, obviously. This nonsense, and this is hilarious because you had the United States and Pentagon that did not want to follow through on this because they know the United States would be in problem. Now, this is the story about the ICC calling for the arrest of Vladimir Putin for war crimes.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Not George W. Bush. Not Jim Crow Joe, who's funding a genocide and arming the genocide of Palestinian people as we speak. Not him. Putin. He's the guy we're going to go after. Not all these insane war criminals that was in cahoots with the Afghanistan papers that exposed the lie. Not the massive sanctions of the United States. It's Putin because he invaded a country for white people. Putin because he dare resist our Nazi regime. That's why he's going to be arrested. Meanwhile, you have Western chauvinists and Western white liberals that confuse why people like RBN have the position that we do. That they confuse why people in Africa have the position that they do. Confused why people in India had the position that they do. People in China had the position that they do. Why the people in BRICS had the position that they do. Because we do not put you guys on this moral high ground that you guys placed yourself on. That the Morning Joe crowd and the Western chauvinists that we expect to go along with it. And somehow the United States had the high ground to criticize Putin, who even with the Ukraine war, you guys understand? The estimates are like 120,000 Ukrainian soldiers dead. That is nothing compared to what the United States did to the Middle East and South America. Every single individual president has a higher kill count than Putin, including the Ukraine war. You guys understand? Meanwhile, George W. Bush is on Ellen dancing.
Yeah.
Dancing.
I mean,
like
alone. I mean, what's her name? McBride in that video said it was just 500,000 children we're only talking about.
Yes.
500,000 children in Iraq. And she was like, it was worth it.
Cowards of the highest order, living and benefiting from imperialism that come from the Western Empire, sponsored by the United States, NATO, but you're focused on calling out Putin? That's what you guys are. The biggest cowards that there are. The biggest cowards that could be. Now they issued the arrest warrant for Putin. I'll just read the headlines just in case you guys are not up. For the people who are not up to speed, I'll just read the first part and I'll move on. The ICC on Friday issued an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin over his alleged involvement in the abduction of Ukrainian children and teenagers, which we literally debunked that. We debunked that on this show. These are people who was in Russian-controlled area in the Donbass in eastern Ukraine who they was orphaned often by the Western Ukrainians. You had an Azov battalion, these fascists that bombarded and killed these children. So then obviously the Russian side took them as well. And they got
killed their parents. Yeah, killed their parents.
Yeah, they killed their parents. And this is the same story they write about every single time the West come in and they kill a shit ton of people, and then the other side take the kids because that's obviously what you would do. Now, what are you gonna do with the kids? Let them starve to death? You find a war against people that literally orphaning kids, and then you take them under, and then they write stories. They say the Taliban is stealing kids. They did the same thing every single war. And I don't have the receipts pulled up right now, but literally every single war. They did the same thing in Syria, where they said they were stealing kids because they were taking kids who was orphaned by the opposition side. And a lot of these kids lived in the Donbass. These people want to be Russian. So when this war started and they were liberated by Russia, the kids obviously fell on the Ukrainian-Russian side. So now then the West melted down and say, oh my God, Russians are forcing Ukrainian kids in adoption, which is a war crime. It's propaganda of the highest order. And if you guys don't believe me, the United States did the same thing in Iraq. They took orphan kids who died in the war, and then they took them under United States influence. They did the same thing in Vietnam. There's so many examples. This is common tactics, whether you guys agree with it or not. The West engaged in this as well. We did a live stream like months ago where we debunked this. So that's
here's Zoya. I don't know if you can see the comment. Zoya says, "Who doesn't support ICC? Ukraine, U.S. and Ukraine." It's so funny because they finally get the arrest warrant they want, and they don't even support the ICC. They haven't in a while because it would come back on them. Obviously, it could eventually come back on the U.S. because they know they have the longest rap sheet. Go ahead.
Zoya is love. Zoya is life. If you guys didn't get a chance, check out Nick at Night. We returned. We were back Wednesday evening. Make sure you guys check that out. If you didn't, we covered. They usually our foreign policy live stream. Make sure you check that out. Let's continue here because that's a great point. And I have a very interesting video to show you guys. John
Uh-oh.
Bolton on the ICC. We get to that later. I'll just read literally the first few bullet points. And it said why it matters. The arrest warrants for Putin and other Russian officials represent the first international charges since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Bullet point number 1, the ICC issued an arrest warrant for Maria. I got nothing. Maria Alice Malia. Well, you guys get it. Russia commissioner for children's rights. So she's the Russia commissioner for children's rights over similar allegations. Bullet point number 2. More than 40 countries that are party to the ICC have requested its intervention, according to the New York Times, which reported on forthcoming war cases and arrest warrants. The Kremlin has previously said it does not recognize the ICC or a jurisdiction, which is the same position as the United States and Ukraine, as we showed before. Also, of Israel, the ICC has put multiple criminal charges on Israel. So now let me show you guys the United States position. And we had to go to RT to show this because they won't show this, obviously, in the West.
Not.
We had to go to RT to find it. I found this base clip, which made my job much easier. So Caleb Maupin reported on this on RT. Watch this video, and you can see the U.S. position on it.
That the ICC was investigating the actions of U.S. troops in Afghanistan. He said the ICC has got to go.
We will not cooperate with the ICC. We will provide no assistance to the ICC, and we certainly will not join the ICC. We will let the ICC die on its own. After all, for all intents and purposes, the ICC is already dead to us. We will ban its judges and prosecutors from entering the United States. We will sanction their in the U.S. financial system, and we will prosecute them in the U.S. criminal system. The president will not allow American citizens to be prosecuted by foreign bureaucrats, and he will not allow other nations to dictate our means of self-defense.
But now, after withdrawing from the ICC and going all in against it, hitting it with sanctions, the United States now suddenly loves the ICC because it's talking about targeting Russia. The ICC is good if it's targeting somebody we don't like, but if it dares touch us, it's got to be abolished. The hypocrisy is pretty hard to overlook. So when US officials talk about a rules-based global order, they mean rules for thee, but not for me, or do as we say, but not as we do. It's not about principles or right and wrong, but about making sure that certain entities remain at the top.
Wow, that John Bolton video, he was like, ain't none of this fuck ICC shit. That ain't happening.
The biggest gangster. This is why I give no credence and no quarter for anyone who claim that Trump is some sort of agent of fighting against the establishment. He hired John Bolton, son. Steve Mnuchin, Mike Pompeo. Oh, he had a secret plan, though. He hired the worst people. He said it was under the Trump administration. He said this in 2019. So this is the position of the Trump administration. We're fighting our war crimes. We're protecting our swamp monsters. The Trump administration was protecting swamp monsters, guys. Do not give any quarter to these people who try to rewrite history and pretend that Trump is anti-war. And this is why my gut reaction is, despite the fact that he says good thing about Ukraine and all this stuff about being anti-war, he's not going to do it because he said that last time.
Yeah,
how many times did he lie to you?
He said a bunch of popular stuff last time. He's not doing no more.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I can write that statement there. Any last comments you have, and I'm gonna get to my other story. Like I said, mine not too long. I got one more.
No, we can get to the the last comment on this ICC. I just the irony, and now that the U.S. is now saying yay to the ICC now that they want to put out this arrest warrant for Putin, but it just also speaks to the fact that a lot of these organizations, I can't find the comment that somebody said that the ICC is a cauldron, I think they said, for the U.S. imperialism. Meaning like they're going to say whatever U.S. imperialism want, even though they're not even liked by the United States. All right, we can end it there and then move to the next one. You got Nick?
I'm actually interjecting this one in, so I actually got two more. I'm going to interject this statement here because this actually works perfectly. The Western narrative has been that Putin fucked up. Even though the Russian economy is stronger than the UK and France economy right now, even though the UK has been through how many prime ministers?
Devastating.
And you have Biden that got historically low. Him and Kamala Harris historically low approval rating. Congress historically low approval rating. You got massive protests in Germany and France going on right now, protesting NATO. But tell me more about how Russia is falling apart. They are not showing this in the NATO left media, in the corporate news media. The people who are fighting against the Western empire. And now they are fighting against neoliberalism. We covered this yesterday. We had Andrew on. Let's see if I can get past this shit. We had Andrew on and Nick at Night. You had AMLO that renounced neoliberalism. He going hard against neoliberalism. You have people calling out the West and their crimes. Meanwhile, the narrative that comes from the corporate media and even the progressives is that Russia made this miscalculation. China is weaker than ever. Meanwhile, look at what the hell's going on in the West. You had Emmanuel Macron, neoliberal goon of the highest order. He lost his majority last year. Meanwhile, tell me more about how Russia and China is miscalculating as their people rebel against their quote-unquote democracy. Russia and China, they're not democracies because they are holding the population with an iron grip. Meanwhile, people are in the fucking streets in the West, and these people keep getting reelected. Emmanuel Macron keep getting reelected. Jim Crow Joe becomes president. People, George Floyd protests, people in the streets. Meanwhile, we can't get rid of our neoliberal government, but you guys think you live in a democracy. So
they're moving the age up. This is to help fund NATO. We need people to understand, it's not just, the retirement. It's just two things that's happening here. The retirement age is going up. So a lot of people just all of a sudden is not going to have, they're 60 some odd years old, not going to have coverage. And then, their retirement is different. And then on top of that, it's to pay more money to NATO. Terrible.
Well, great point, CJ. Now look at this bastion of democracy that Emmanuel Macron and NATO is fighting for. You should send your son and daughters to fight for this democracy. French President Macron overrides Parliament. So Parliament was like, Macron, you crazy asshole. You about to make these niggas burn this state down. Macron, we can't do this shit. These motherfuckers will be pissed. You know what country we in? France. They're about to burn this city down. If we do this, we can't do this. Emmanuel Macron was like, you think we live in a democracy, sir? Parliament override. Now, because of this, people had enough. There was a massive pension overhaul. They raised the retirement age. Once again, showing how France is way less full of bootlickers than we are. We are states that are pushing retirement age to 70. Our generation essentially gave up the concept of retirement. They increased their retirement age from 62, which we don't fucking have, to 64, and France freaked the fuck out. Meanwhile, libertarians in the right, they're like, oh my God, you guys protest too hard. Tucker Carlson, you guys protest too hard. Oh my God, property. Oh my God, you're being mean to the cops. This is what the right-wing populists say. The people that we're supposed to rely on to lock arms and end the empire with, the people who are too pussy to protest the state properly. They look at George Floyd protesters, Black Lives Matter protesters. There's nothing compared to France, nothing compared to Colombia, nothing compared to Brazil. And they're like, oh my God, they're too violent. They're too mean because some agent provocateurs start some shit. That's why America is in the position it is right now, because the right wing and all their bootlickers, and a lot of liberal bootlickers as well, that criticize people who protest their government. You guys understand? We are too weak. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson and the right, oh my God, they want to protest at people's houses. The Supreme Court houses. Fuck you. They lucky their houses still stand.
I saw the footage. I don't know if you've seen a video of this. I don't. Yeah. Oh, you do, because these people ain't playing in France. France is not playing at all. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's so much footage. I was like, man, I'll just show you guys Twitter because the videos are everywhere, right? So this is well, damn, that shit just auto loaded, but this is good. This is good. Like I said, we're just doing it live. This is auto loaded, but let's see what this one say. And I know this guy. This guy's a right winger. Like I got questions. Because the same right wingers that look at France is like, oh my God, these people are strong patriots fighting against their state. Black people go protest their government, and all of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, these fucking thugs.
Yep.
That's
We
why
got a James Baldwin clip for that. James Baldwin speaks on that. We'll close out with that today.
Yeah, and I remember
Talks about
calling.
exactly,
Someone made a great point. Someone made a point. He asked me a few times. He's like, "What? He's like, what's your thoughts about organizing with libertarians?" Like, man, I'm glad they agree with me on these issues. But when we get to solutions, they're gonna pussy out. A lot of these blue stripe motherfuckers, a lot of these right wing populists, like, yeah, I'm anti-war, but I still don't like socialism. What we do? Let's say we agree on ending the empire. You think they're gonna let us get that done through legislation? Nigga, we gotta hit the street. We gotta do some direct action that you guys are not comfortable with, and then they're gonna betray us. They're gonna be like, oh my god, yeah, I agree with you in the war, but you guys are going too far. I see this shit coming. That's why I say what I say, because I hope to change your mind. I hope, because people have told me I have. Like, if they got this instinct to a type protest, I want them to stop that shit. And if you want to change, if you want to adjust your strategy the same way coalitions have been made in the past, then yeah, that's great. But if you guys want to still put bootleg private property in the government, the state, and apologize for cops as we demand change the way that France is doing, you're going to be a hindrance in our movement, whether you agree with us or not. Right? But anyway, that's my lecture. I'll spare you guys.
Yeah, your hesitation, their hesitation, I should say, will be very problematic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to get it through their heads. A lot of people still resist. I had that tweet I seen yesterday. Like, man, I'm not saying violent revolution is going to happen, but if you guys think shit is going to change without it, it's not going to happen. Incrementalism has failed. But I'll read the tweet. I'll show you guys a few more videos, and I'll wrap the segment up. I may say the other segment for tomorrow, actually, because I don't want to.
We can, because I know you guys.
I don't want to shorten the segment up, but the next segment, the one I'm gonna do tomorrow, is Biden using the DOJ to rob people of Second Amendment rights because of marijuana. So I don't want to.
Yeah, that can't be no 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I said. I need to do that
segment.
Yeah, I need to do that segment justice. So we may do that tomorrow. But anyway, I'll show you a few more receipts. This is some shit. I'll read this tweet in case you guys can't really see it. French protesters are not messing around. Mannequins that look like Emmanuel Macron and a few other politicians are burnt. Remember the history of the France and the guillotines? Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson was complaining over protesters intimidating Supreme Court justices. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And I'll keep bringing up Tucker because I'm not letting you guys forget. I watched some statements like, dude, how the fuck are we supposed to organize with these people? Oh, I hate the establishment, but don't protest this way. Fuck out of here.
Man. Like meanwhile, Trump supporters is on January 6th.
Yes.
But they're telling us those aren't the people we should be organizing with, but they're willing to go do that shit. You see that shit they did, Nick? Now, I'm not saying Trump supporters, the ideology is not there, but you tell me the people who aren't willing to go do that shit. Yeah. But meanwhile, we over here hanging out with Sam Cedar. Get the fuck out of here, man. Fuck out of here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just show some footage. I'm gonna just wrap the statement out. I'm gonna show a few because I didn't have any say, but like they everywhere right now. So you guys see some example of how France is. They are not fucking around, man. And guys, when you see France protests, do you think they give a fuck about private property? Let me tell you, as someone who watched a lot of clips, they do not.
But as a country who's saying we are here to serve the people, and you see this based on your actions, you are glaringly saying this is not about democracy. I'm going to force what I want done for weapons manufacturers and capitalists. The people don't want this. The government didn't want this. Macron literally forced this shit down. Because NATO said, you better make this shit happen, motherfucker. That's literally what like NATO, when they met, you better make sure you come with your money. Don't show up without your end of the money. You get what I'm saying? That's what they told Macron. Don't show up without your money, sir. And he don't care what's happening down here. As long as he shows up with the money. Go ahead.
Look at this rules-based order, guys. They democracy the shit out of those people. This is the Western values that the NATO left want to plunge the world into World War III protecting. I am legitimately asking. I told you guys, I don't care about Putin and Russia. We have a common enemy. I don't give a fuck about Putin. We have a common enemy in NATO in the West. Because the West is our biggest oppressor. And not Putin. It's not Putin that's been spying on you. It's not Putin that tear gas people that led to miscarriages, not people that permanently been blinded, people who've been blinded by rubber bullets. They're not Putin doing it. It's our government. That's why I view people as the height of cowardice when they spend all the time criticizing the adversaries of the biggest evil empire known to man, probably since the Mongol Empire. And now I'll see. I got one save on. I want to make sure. There it is. I was like, what the hell is this one? This one I want to make sure I show you guys before I wrap the segment. You have garbage all over Paris right now because you had workers that are on strike. This is part of strategy here, right? Because now there are people in Paris that are pissed because there's trash everywhere. The city smells like shit. So there's going to be people like, will you guys just give these workers what the fuck they want so things can get back normal? Look at this. Do you think people want to live in this forever? This is the power that the workers have because this is why I said we only need to get 10 to 15%. We need to get the motherfuckers down for this. Once we get to this point, you got to remember, 30% of the country will always oppose you. They are the ops, right? You need to get the rest on your side. The rest will join you once you're fighting for a true cause because they simply want to normalize shit. So when you go on these strikes and protests, eventually the people who are not necessarily on your side, but they're not ops, they will be like, give them what they want. They will actually start joining you, not because they believe in your cause, because they want this fucking trash cleaned up. And that's the point that we need to get to. We don't need to win everyone. That's why I say I don't really focus on Trump supporters or liberals. We need to get the 15 to 20% people who will get engaged there. And I'm overestimating it because I'm assuming our empire can be worse. Most people say 5%, but I say no, nigga. This empire is different. Because I see people say 5%. I say let's get 50% be safe. 50% of the population, then the rest will join our side to stop this shit. But we are so far away from this. We can't get people to organize to do this stuff, which is why we have no labor power, which is why we need a new approach instead of fucking focusing on Marianne Williamson and electoral politics. We are so far away from this. This is why we can't even get close to what France does. So that's my last thing I'll share. And then anything else you want to add to this segment, and then we can wrap up. At least I got to wrap up. At least.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should just cover France more, just because they doing the we need to find some sort of way to jar Americans, to make them say, "Hey, wake up, man! Let's get in the streets." And maybe that inspiration is just covering these protests, because that's the reason why they don't cover it in corporate media, because they're not trying to trigger any of us trying to say, hey, look what they're doing, let's try that ourselves. So that's my final words.
So make sure you guys check me out on the Glenn Greenwald show tonight. That's 6:30 p.m. Central Time, so that's 7:30 Eastern Time. He streams usually on Rumble. Should be a good conversation. I think we're gonna get to some Ukraine. Also, the state of the left, and also Kamala Harris being Kamala Harris again. So it's always fun. Like I said, I'm always down to roast Kamala. So that should be a fun show. Make sure you guys check me on that tonight. There's a lot going on because Savvy got Danny on as well. Apparently, everyone and their mother streaming today, but so a lot of content for you guys. CJ,
which is good.
It's good. CJ, any last thoughts?
No last thoughts, but tomorrow I will be covering the anti-war rally. So if we do Nick and CJ tomorrow, Nick, it'll be where I'm in the field.
Yeah, what time is that?
It's usually around it's around our same show. Like the rally starts at 1, so I'm gonna get there like 1 my time. That's 4.
Yeah, that works.
So 4 East Coast. So I'm gonna get there at 3 p.m. East Coast Eastern, but it starts at 4.
Yeah, I can just host and then you can cover on the ground too. I think that works.
Yeah,
I'll see you guys later tonight on Glenn, and tomorrow at Nick and TJ. See you guys.
All right, Nick. All right, so we have James Baldwin that's going to take us out. I alluded to this earlier. Nick made mention to this. White person says, I want freedom. Give me freedom or give me death. White comrades cheer. White people cheer. A black person says the same thing, and that's a problem. Here is James Baldwin talking about this very thing in this historical clip. Thank you for watching today.
If we were Irish, if we were Jewish, if we were Poles, if we had, in fact, in your mind, a frame of reference, our heroes would be your heroes too. Nat Turner would be a hero for you instead of a threat. Malcolm X might still be alive. And everyone is very proud of brave little Israel, a state against which I have nothing. I don't want to be misinterpreted. I'm not an anti-Semite. But when the Israelis pick up guns, or the Poles, or the Irish, or any white man in the world says, "Give me liberty or give me death," the entire white world applauds. When a black man says exactly the same thing, word for word, he is judged a criminal and treated like one, and everything possible is done to make an example of this bad nigger so there won't be any more like him. If we were Irish, oh.